What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Sunday edition Morning Scone presented by Brock, Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Hudco Roofing, hudcoroofing.com. If you're on YouTube, do us a solid there. Like the page, share the post. Like the page, share the post, like the page, share the post. I'm sorry, if you're on Facebook, it's going to be one of those mornings. If you're on Facebook, please like the page, share the post, like the page, share the post. If you're on YouTube, smash the like button, please. And if you have not done so yet, please subscribe to the Matt Moscona YouTube channel. Okay. Here we go. LSU loses to Auburn 24-19. First loss in Tiger Stadium for LSU in this series since 1999. The complete inability to run the football is laughable. 29 yards on 24 carries for LSU with a lead in the fourth quarter. LSU ran 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. LSU ran 19 plays in the fourth quarter. One of them was a running play. And of those 19 plays, 12 of them came with the lead. The first 12 came with the lead. On your first offensive possession, you blow a timeout because you can't get a play in. You used your last time out of the first half at around the 9-minute mark of the second quarter. You wasted a timeout before a first down snap coming after a kickoff. This is the most unorganized poop show of a football program I have ever seen, and that is stunning to say because I watched the end of the Les Miles era. At least Les knew what he was trying to accomplish. These jokers don't have a clue. And the sooner they run them all out of town, the better this program will be. Y'all know I am not a fire the coach guy. I have never been that. And I'm not going to sit here today or Monday on AFR and say, fire him today. I'm not going to say it. That's just not my thing. What I said last year after LSU lost to Auburn was, listen, if you want to salvage anything in this season, because we all know the inevitability, which is Bo Pelini wasn't going to be back. I said, after the Auburn loss, listen, we all know how this is going to end. If you want to salvage anything in the season, you fire Bo now, you promote Corey Raymond, because at least they'll play hard for him. I don't know what option they have to promote someone to head coach if they were to fire Ed now, but I'll tell you this much. I don't know how Ed Ogeron salvages anything from this season. He just doesn't have a clue. He just doesn't know what he's doing. And he doesn't know how to fix it. Just like he didn't know how he built a championship team. He Forrest Gumped his way into Joe Burrow and won a title. And I know the argument that, well, there was so much other talent on the team. It was the same conversation we had about Les Miles for years. 2006, they had 4 first-round picks in 2006. And the number 1 overall pick was your quarterback who went first overall. I mean, and that team lost 7-3 at Auburn. There's been plenty of great teams that had lots of talent. Anyway. So, listen, we all know LSU can't run the ball. We know the flaws this team has. In spite of them, they still should have won that game last night. But a first-year coach at Auburn who fired his receiver coach 4 games into his tenure outcoached LSU last night. I mean, I don't know that it could be any worse with anybody else. I mean, I can go through the game. It's so funny. We talk about, man, this total lack of a running game. Yet, Corey Kiner had 5 carries for 22 yards. He averaged 4.5 yards a carry. How about you hand that kid the ball? And there were plays he was getting popped in the backfield, but he bounces off and he manages to get positive yards. Like, give that kid the ball. Stop running Armani Goodwin in there. Stop running Josh Williams in there. I don't need to see the former nice story and all that stuff, but I don't need to see the former walk-on who has no dynamic ability. Put the kid in there who actually gets you positive yards. Like, why is this hard? Whatever. All right. Let's say some good mornings. I mean, the comments are going really fast, so I'm going to do my best to get to them. If you're watching there on YouTube, smash the like button. Thank you. If you're on Facebook, please like the page, share the post. Do my best here to get to everybody in your comments. I know on Facebook they're kind of scrolling really fast, so apologies on that. I'm sure kind of a different show this morning. Patrick Cason had to smoke 2 cigars, drink half bottle of scotch with whiskey and wine to get over that game. There's a lot of people that won't be over it for a while, Patrick. Jared Wrinkles, clock management drives me crazy. It's happened every single game. That's true. Like, do you notice that Ed Ogeron has George Munoz standing right next to him for the game? Like the guy the kind of dark complected guy with the glasses and the white hat. That's George Munoz. Ed has George standing next to him to help him with game flow, with game management, because Ed doesn't know what to do. So he has a guy standing next to him to tell him when to use a timeout, when they should go for it, because he doesn't know. That's what. Find me any other head coach in America that has a game management guy standing right next to them. Does Nick Saban have a lackey standing next to him to tell him what to do? Jesus. Does any coach have someone standing next to him telling him what to do? Cole Pierce got rid of Les Moss for going 8-4, 9-3, not living up to expectations. Since the 19 championship game, Ogeron is 8-7, has made terrible hires. Hey, Cole, he made terrible hires from the onset. Like, the point I made after UCLA with, this being an inevitable end for Ed Ogeron was, as the sample size grows, all that does is illustrate more and more that 2019 was an outlier. Like, Forrest Gump wasn't the best shrimp boat captain in the world. He was just the lucky SOB whose boat didn't sink. And after that, shrimping was easy. Like, that's all Ed Ogeron is. He Forrest Gumped his way to a championship. He botched the 2018 recruiting class, was forced into the transfer portal for a quarterback. It just happened to be that a transcendent quarterback was standing right there. And I'll give Ed some credit. He did a hell of a job recruiting Joe Burrow. But the only reason that door was even open was because of Bill Bush. And the only reason Bill Bush was here was because Dave Aranda handpicked him to come here. And the only reason Dave Aranda was here was because Les Miles hired him. So, say whatever, man. The point is, Ed doesn't know what he did to build a championship team, which is why he doesn't know how to get back there, which is why you continue to see a regression. Even with 4 and 5 stars. 3 consecutive classes in the top 5, 3 consecutive recruiting classes in the top 5, and this is what you get. It's embarrassing, bro. Chase Livingston, even during the Miles era, there was a large fan base that wanted to keep him. Right now, nobody has support for O. Robert Boudreaux, let Ensminger be the head coach. I don't think Steve Ensminger wants to be the head coach. Blake Whitehead, one-dimensional, no rushing, no blocking, no defense. I'll disagree on defense, Blake. I will commend the defense yesterday. And it would be easy to look at allowing 453 yards and say, oh, the defense is terrible. I thought LSU's defense really played well. I mean, up until Bo Nix's scramble, whatever the hell that was, on 4th and 2, right there at the end of the first half. And that touchdown came with, hang on one second. Auburn's, LSU led this game 13. LSU led this game 13-0. They should have been up 21. Auburn's touchdown on the 4th and 2 came with 4:53 to play in the first half. You shut them out until 4:53 in the first half. And they only scored because Bo Nix had that incredible, absurd scramble, whatever that thing was, for the touchdown. And good for him. He's a hell of a play. You tip your cap to him. It wasn't bad defense, but then he had another, right before half, when they kicked the field goal, the 49-yarder, he had another 4th and 2 scramble completion thing. Auburn had an onside kick to start the second half. You had great field position. You drive all the way down, and you settle for a 22-yard field goal. And you block their field goal attempt, and you get another field goal, a 51-yarder. You're up 19-10. You're leading 19-10. You're up 2 scores. You are up 2 scores with 3:26 to play in the third quarter. You're up 2 scores with 3:26 to play in the third. And you got to stop. No, then that's when Nick scored on the second play of the fourth quarter. You're up 2, 19-17, and you didn't run the ball again until the final drive of the game when you were losing. 1, 2, 3 consecutive possessions without a running play. But you want to know what happens? When, as a head coach, you go 5-5, you're under a tremendous amount of pressure, your boss lets you fire 6 coaches on staff, turn over more than half of your staff, and you know this is the season that's going to determine your future. And instead of going to hire proven winners at the coordinator positions, you don't know who to hire, so you hire 2 guys that have never done the job before. What, you thought there weren't going to be some growing pains? Tim Gotro, Joe Delmonico, what's up, y'all? Joey Vincent, Irfan Sayad, Cliff Nelson, Jonathan Martin, good morning. Spurge, what's up? Ryan Dixon, if LSU wanted help with O's buyout, wanted to get Jimbo cheap, Woodward just needs to call A&M boosters. Look, yesterday, I took a bath yesterday, y'all. The only thing I got right yesterday was I had Georgia blowing out Arkansas. Y'all know I had Ole Miss winning. I had Notre Dame winning. I had Florida beating Kentucky. I had A&M beating Mississippi State. I had LSU beating Auburn. Yesterday, you do this long enough, you have those days, some days where you nail everything. Last week, I hit 4 money line plays, including Notre Dame, which was an underdog against Wisconsin. I hit on Baylor last week as an underdog on a money line play. Last week I was awesome. This week was a bloodbath. I got nothing right this week. Mark Allen, that was a horrible night. The timeouts were an embarrassment. Yes, they were. Samuel Ayers, it never felt like a lead. I disagree with that, Samuel. I thought LSU's defense played well, man. Cordell Flott was running around. Big TFL on the first possession. Nearly came up with an interception on the, where was it? On their second possession when they missed the 51-yarder. That was on the pass down the deep middle. Looked like came up with a pick. No, I disagree, man. I especially when York hit the 51-yarder to go up 19-10. And even still, if you remember, the third down play was 3rd and 16. And Deculus got beat. Max got sacked and fumbled, and Deculus fell on the ball. And that's one of those plays where, man, you're at a 16-10 ball game, and nobody had turned the ball over yet at that point, and you're feeling like, man, you got lucky because another split second, Auburn recovers that ball, and you're in a one-score get right. I mean, the fact that Deculus came up with that fumble recovery was super lucky, and it allowed York to attempt the 51-yard. I guess my point is, like, I felt like LSU wasn't playing their best, but was still better and was winning the game. 1 second, YouTube. Sorry, guys. Hang on 1 second. There we go. Sorry about that. I just had to put up. I had to put it on Do Not Disturb, so nobody called me. Let's see. When does O go? Do they wait at the end of the season? You're fun. I don't know, man. The difference with USC is with Clay Helton is they were looking to move on for a while, and of course that's a new AD. But I think there's a couple of things. Number one, I'll tell you, and I don't mind having these conversations because they're legitimate now. But Ogeron's buyout $17 million for the entire staff. It's going to go just north of 20. I can tell you that I had conversations with 2 boosters after the UCLA loss that had been contacted about contributing to buyouts. So Scott Woodward's has been getting his ducks in a row. I mean, why do y'all think I'm confident saying this stuff like that? Anyway, whatever. I think you make the move mid-season if you feel like you're trying to salvage something in the season, and maybe they will. But I don't. There isn't an obvious choice of someone to promote. I don't think you're promoting either of the coordinators. And Corey Raymond would make sense as longer tenured head coach, coach on the staff, and the guys love him, and I don't know if they're going to do that. You see what I mean? So obvious, sans an obvious answer. I don't know that you do it. The other thing I'll tell you too is I think they're going to fire Ed for cause and negotiate a smaller buyout. Be it the title line stuff, the NCAA stuff. Don't be surprised when the next month you see more Title IX information come out. And then that becomes the sack of bricks that breaks the camel's back. Cliff Nelson, can't remember when I've been more disgusted with a loss. UCLA was pretty bad. Look, no losses are easy to stomach, man. How about Missouri last year, when you can't punch it in from the 1 yard line against Missouri? What about Mississippi State last year, allowing 623 passing yards? I can remember plenty, Cliff. Alex Day, morning, Matt. Don't understand why the offense is so disjointed. Well, I mean, it just starts because your offensive line isn't any good. And all summer, while a lot of people were sunshine pumping, there was one fat, bald-headed radio host who said over and over and over and over and over and over again, just because you returned everybody from a unit that wasn't bad doesn't mean they're better. They have to improve. Who was that fat, bald-headed radio guy who said that about the offensive line over and over and over again? When people and when he would say that, there were people who would point the finger and call him a hater and say hates the coach and hates LSU. Who was that guy? Or maybe he's the only guy that will actually shoot you straight and not BS you. See, the funny thing about days like this is that the sunshine pumpers get exposed on days like this. It always works out that way. Speak your truth. Kelly Klein, Peter, what's up? Jamie Campbell, who do you think LSU should get for their next head coach? The 2 names I heard a month ago were Lane Kiffin and Bill O'Brien. I don't know that that's necessarily the route I would go. Yesterday notwithstanding, I still do believe Lane Kiffin is the best offensive coach in college football. I think you give him the resource of an LSU, he would do spectacularly well. I think Bill O'Brien could do well. He took a very, very bad situation at Penn State after Joe Paterno and rallied them and won, and then went to the NFL. of course, now is with Nick at Alabama. So I don't know. I think those are good starting points. Jamo Milner, why are we surprised? Sorry, their comments are going pretty fast. Sorry, on Facebook. I'm trying to read as many of them as I can. George Mueller, Rosenthal should garner interviews this week. The lineman, that is. Yeah, you're talking about Dare. I can reach out to him and see if he'll come on. I did watch a lot of that Kentucky-Florida game yesterday, and Dare Rosenthal's still a turnstile at left tackle, man. I mean, he's just not a great player. I think he's going to have trouble blocking Ojulari. Jeremy Hoskins, Richie Burt, LSU rushing for less than 30 yards is a crime. Dax Jeter, there are plenty of losses in the Miles era that were equally egregious. I agree. Aaron Fontaine, if Coach O loves LSU as much as he says, he should help them out by accepting a smaller buyout. It's the reason you have contracts, bro. Colin Lauren, stadium crowd was poor last night. Turned around, saw fans sitting down, not yelling on second and third down. You know, Colin, I can understand your frustration with that, but you know, my thing is always I'll never criticize fans for what you do with your spare time and your disposable income. I mean, if you want to show up late and leave early, if you want to show up early and leave late, if you want to yell, if you want to sit, if you want to use your tickets for lining a rabbit cage, to each their own, man. I'm just not going to criticize anybody for what they do with their time and their money. So it was sad to see at the end of the third quarter, you know, in a tight ball game against one of your rivals, seeing that place empty out. Yeah, it was disappointing, man, no doubt. But I also understand when you're talking about 1 a.m, you know, or you know past midnight, that people don't want to go sit in 2-3 hours of traffic. So I kind of get it. Jamie Campbell, only game we're winning is ULM. I'll disagree, Jamie. There's other wins out there. That was the same sentiment after UCLA, and then they came back and they won 3 in a row. They beat Mississippi State. They'll win other games this year. Bruce Parker, can we fire compliance as well? Tired of seeing former LSU players at different schools the next season. I mean, Bruce, every program, you know, you lose players to transfer. I know what you're talking about with Rosenthal, the reason he's not here, but anyway. Oh, look at Stacy Roderick. The coach is not the players. He wasn't chasing that quarterback, and he was not one throwing interceptions. So, Stacy, LSU threw 1 interception, had 1 turnover, right at the end of the game on a desperation heave while they were trying to win the game. But the coach is absolutely responsible for game plan and game management. Wasting your last time out with 9 minutes to go in the first half, that's coaching and game management. Not having a play ready to go when you're trying to line up to go for it on a 4th and 1, which caused you a delay and then a false start, so you have to settle for a 26-yard field goal. That's game management. Not running the football when you have a 2-score lead in the second half, not running the ball for 12 consecutive plays on 3 possessions in the fourth quarter while you lead, that's game management, that is coaching. Ed Ogeron, Stacy, is a disaster as a head coach. You can come here and you can sunshine pump anything you want and you can blame the players, but I'm here to tell you, LSU had plenty enough talent to win that game last night, and their coach failed them because he does not know what he is doing. So you can come here with that sentiment, but you are flatly dead wrong. LSU's defense, I thought, played exceptionally hard last night, and I think save a couple of physical mistakes. You had a Deion Smith drop. I thought LSU tackled and played exceptionally well. You tip your cap to Bo Nix for the crazy 4th down scramble plays. I mean, LSU's defense did their best chasing him around. Kid made some plays. Shouldn't have even mattered. Hang on 1 second. MSU Trevor, go get Billy Napier. Not happening. They're not hiring the coach from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. Plus, you can get a proven head coach at the Power 5 level. No reason to do that. Merrick Mathern, why is the running game so bad? Your running backs aren't dynamic and your offensive line stinks. Irfan Sayad, Houdat, going to the Dome, putting the poop show behind me, moving on to the Houdats. Well, they'll win today. Kirk Taylor, what's up? Juan, good morning. In Ecuador, visiting family. Last night sucked. To be so upset by myself. Thank you for having whiskey and wine. I needed that. Fonzie Fonzarelli. Matt, we had 4 to 5 read option runs in the series. We kicked to go 19. We never ran another one again. Yeah, the play Max pulled around the end was good. Let's see. Let's see. In the drive where LSU kicked the 51-yarder, Kiner started the drive with an 11-yard run, then they went back-to-back passes to Besh, then they ran Kiner first, second, and third down, and then on 4th and 1. So they ran Kiner 4 straight plays. Then they ran the end around with Max, when he had a beautiful pull and slipped around the end. Then Deculus was called for holding. They gave 2nd and 18. 2nd and 18, and they gave the ball to Josh Williams. Ugh. 2nd and 18, you hand it off to the walk-on running back. And then that's when Max got sacked and fumbled, and Deculus recovered it. But Kiner had 1, 2, 3, 4. Kiner had 5 carries. Max had the carry, ran into 6. Deculus had the holding. Williams had the carries at 7 runs. And then sack. 7 runs on that drive. And then they didn't run it again until the final drive of the game, when they were losing. Bubba Tatum, I didn't get enough cursing out last night after suffering through that garbage on the East Coast. Can I get a pass for a few F-bombs this morning? Bubba, I think because I have it on the Mamma Scone channel, censor, they're going to censor you on here. Doug DeBallion, tired of excuses. The head coach has taken this once-winning program, driven it into the dirt at his loss, and that is the bottom line. True. Merrick, did the hair fairy make a visit? It did, Merrick. Alex Day, Matt, do you think making Pete's be on the sideline versus in the press box to help? No, Alex, I don't. I believe you let a coach do what he's comfortable doing. If a coach wants to be on the field, let him be on the field. If they're more comfortable in the box, you let him be in the box. If Jake Peets feels like he sees the game better from the box, that's where I want him. I want the coach to be comfortable that's calling the plays. The problem is Jake Peets just isn't fast enough. You keep having these issues. The look at the sideline check with me, the tempo that we saw last week was completely gone last night. The check with me's were back. The issues getting plays in were back. Jake Peets is not ready to be a play caller at this level. That's just the bottom line. Matthew Rogelio, morning Scone, forgive my ignorance and negativity. What's the point of delaying the inevitable? Cut ties now and start looking forward. Matthew, like I said earlier, the only reason that you would do it is if you felt like he was if the coach had lost control of the team and you felt like you needed to do it to salvage the season. I could understand doing it now, but what option do you have? Breaking news: Bo Nix is having his jersey investigated for being drenched in Crisco. James Craig will be Ed's undoing. Ed is Ed's undoing. Juan, do we really have that much talent? I don't see many NFL guys. So Juan, here's an important note. Your point is a good one. This year in the NFL draft, your Stingley will obviously get picked, but he's not playing right now. I'm just talking about this year. I think Ali Gay will get drafted. I think Damone Clark will get drafted. I think Ed Ingram will get drafted, although he has hurt his draft stock by coming back. He has not played well. And I think that's it this year. So you have a lot of guys playing right now that aren't, they either haven't developed or have been misses or whatever. That said, I think your younger guys, there's a ton of talent. I mean, Mason Smith's going to be a high draft pick. Jaquaylon Roy's going to be a high draft pick. B.J. Ojolari's going to be a high draft pick. Elias Ricks, Cordell Flott, Jay Ward. I think all those guys are drafted. Offensively, Keishon Butte. I mean, look at the talent at the receiver position. I mean, would you be surprised if in 2 years Jack Best was drafted or Deion Smith? I don't know about Max Johnson. I don't know about any of these running backs. But you know, the position we're omitting here obviously is the offensive line. I mean, that's the root of your issue right now because it prevents you from being balanced offensively. It prevents you from being able to manage the clock and run out a clock with a lead, put a team away, to be balanced, to be unpredictable by personnel. And you just have some tremendous misses there. It's either missing on recruiting evaluations or it's lack of development or both. Brett Dagro, when we make the change after the season, how long before we compete for a title again? Brett, I think next year's LSU team is going to be talented enough to win any game on its schedule. Think about your current sophomores that are going to be juniors, the leaders next year. Max Johnson, Keishon Butte, Elias Ricks, Jay Ward, Jaquaylon Roy. I mean, next year's juniors are all the guys that played as freshmen last year, and they're studs. You're going to have guys, you're going to have a squad next year. But if Ed Ogeron's your coach, you're going nowhere. And he won't be. So whoever the next coach is going to inherit a talented roster. Provided it all transfer. Let's see, we should pursue Aranda as a head coach. I don't think that's going to happen, Dapo. I think, Dave just being in his second year, it's probably a little premature. Like, y'all have seen Scott Woodward, man. Look at the hires he makes. Needed a women's basketball coach. He went and hired a 3-time national champion. He was looking for a baseball coach. He went and looked at coaches that had won national championships. When he didn't, he landed. He went and did an extensive search, and landed on Jay Johnson, who's exactly the mold of a coach he was looking for. Had been to Omaha, had success, was hung. You know what I mean? Like, that's what he's going to go. But Scott shows you what type of coach he's going to hire, man. He's going to swing for the fences, and if he doesn't connect with a giant, proven slam dunk name hire, then he's going to find someone who's had tremendous success and is looking for the next step up opportunity. See, Eric, I'm not blaming defense for the loss. With all these athletes, how do we not have some kind of NASCAR package? Would have been useful last night with Knicks running around. I mean, look, Eric, I understand your point, but here's the point where I disagree. With Knicks running around, man, like, Knicks planted and made B.J. Ojolari miss. B.J. Ojolari is as athletic a pass rusher as you have. Sometimes you just tip your cap to the other guy. Like, I think LSU's plan was good defensively. Like I said, man, Auburn didn't get on the board until 4 minutes left in the first half. You know what I mean? Defense wasn't a problem last night, man. Just... Mario Cristobal for head coach. I don't know that that's the direction I would go either. Ryan Dixon, maybe they will hire Derek Panamsky as interim coach, fill in if they make the move. Durante Jones needs to realize his defense is playing 80 snaps and needs to rotate more early in the game. Maybe so. They acknowledged that last week for sure. Richie Burt, please tell me Jimbo will not get a phone call by Woodward. Richie, I mean, that's not the worst idea. I mean, I know they lost yesterday, but They have no quarterback at A&M. Like Zach Calzada is not an SEC quarterback. Um, that watching that A&M team this year feels a lot like some of those Les Miles teams. Oh, maybe like 2015, where you had a really good defense. You had Leonard Fournette running the ball. You just had no quarterback play. That's A&M right now. They got an offensive line and no quarterback play. Corey Lalonde's asking if you'd go get Urban Meyer. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Urban. He had himself a weekend, didn't he? Penn State will not let James Franklin go that easy, but he would be a good hire. He's won in the SEC before. I mean, that's the kind of guy that you pick up the phone. I'm not saying he's exactly the guy, but that's the kind of guy that you pick up the phone and say, hey, you want to come back to the SEC? You want to come coach at a top 5 program as far as resources and winning championships? Now, he's from Pennsylvania, though, which was one of the appeals of him going back to Penn State. And who knows, man? You know, he may be on a team that makes the playoff this year. Let's see. Michael Hall, fire Ogeron, promote Corey Raymond for the rest of the season. O has lost respect and confidence from his team. You know, Michael, I don't know if that's the case, honestly. Last year it was. And a lot of the players love Corey, that's for sure. Hi, buddy. Buddy chats on, if they let O go, I think you let Raymond coach, right? Yeah, a lot of people are saying that. I mean, I'm with you on the Raymond thing, and I certainly would have done that as DC last year. I don't know if Corey is in the spot to be head coach. Maybe. I mean, maybe so. Jason Aguilar at Stingley, another bogus foot injury. Jason, it's not a bogus foot injury. Don't be stupid. Come on, Jason. Hey, babe. Darren Straub, good morning. Cade York will be drafted. Thank you. I forgot. Yes, Cade York will absolutely be drafted. Hey, Bennett Saya. Wonder if we can pull Gabe Fertitta from Louisville. Gabe Fertitta would be a better option than Ed Ogeron. Tom Granick, did we sack him at all last night? Let me look up to see. Sorry, let me check. LSU had 6 hurries, no sacks, 2 TFLs, 4 passes defended. No sacks. A lot of that to just tip your cap to Bo Nix, man. He made a lot of guys miss. I wonder how many players LSU loses to the portal with this piss-poor coaching performance. That is a concern. Louis Malhoit, is Pete second-guessing himself too much? Yeah, he just doesn't know what he's doing. Derek Maness, since he coach, would be a good hire. I think that Luke Fickell is going to end up at Southern Cal. The AD that hired Luke Fickell at Cincinnati is the new AD at USC. So I think in firing Clay Helton, that's a pretty clear indicator of what he's looking to do. He's probably going to go after Luke Fickell. Michael Castello, watching Georgia's O-line yesterday, was impressive. They manhandled Arkansas. They did. They're great. They were recruited and coached by Sam Pittman, who's now the head coach at Arkansas. And now they're coached by Matt Luke, who was the head coach at Ole Miss, who's also a great recruiter and a really good offensive line coach. And LSU has none of that. Greg Sandomal, if you're an O-line recruit, wouldn't you see this team and want to come here immediate playing time? So, Craig, yeah, I mean, that is part of it. That I think a lot of times fans look at recruiting and think, oh, we lost, recruits aren't going to want to come. A lot of times it's kind of the opposite. Like, recruits can walk into the building and they can see the trophies and the All-Americans, and they know what LSU is. And they look and they say, oh, I can go here and play immediately. A lot of times that is part of the selling point. Look at Will Campbell. Will Campbell's a 5-star tackle. He's enrolling in January. He's going to have a really good shot to play as a freshman. Jonathan Burris, more than Matt, what must happen for us to make a move this offseason? O is done. I mean, Jonathan, I think that's happening anyway. I mean, I believe that this was going to be O's last season from the first game. I've said that, but with every loss, it just becomes more and more obvious. Father John David Mathern, think we pulled the trigger after the Ole Miss game that allows Woodward to find the right guy, recruits this roster back with him. Next month will be interesting, y'all. I mean, they're going to face a lot of adversity this week. and you typically go one way or the other. I'll remind you in 2017 when LSU lost to Troy. The next week they went to Florida and won. Look at Mississippi State. Mississippi State loses at Memphis. They lose at home to LSU. Then they go on the road to A&M and win. Sometimes teams elevate their play in the face of adversity. And we'll see what this team does. But, we talked about this all offseason, that October would determine what this team is, because you look at this stretch where you go Auburn at Kentucky, Florida at Ole Miss, then you have your open date in Alabama. Now you're going to take an L in Tuscaloosa, but the other 4 games, that determines what, if anything, you're playing for in November. So now you've lost your first one, second of the season, but first game of October, So how do you rebound? Are you able to competently go up to Kentucky next week, who Kentucky just beat Florida? They're going to be emotional, maybe sky high after this Florida win, rushing the field. Do they have a little bit of a letdown? Maybe. Could you catch LSU rallying the troops, Kentucky with a bit of a letdown after that emotional win? Maybe. Or is LSU dejected now going on the road against a team that's feeling itself and you get popped in the mouth? Maybe. It's going to be interesting. And I don't have an answer. I have no idea. I've had no beat on this LSU team this year. I picked them to beat UCLA, lost. Picked them to lose to Mississippi State, they won. Picked them to beat Auburn, they lost. Has anyone checked the portion of the binder where it says who he's going to hire? That he's going to hire unproven coordinators to run the program into the ground. If you're on Facebook, please like the page, share the post. YouTube, smash that like button. Shout out to Brock, Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, by the way. The Brock Foundation is hosting Brock Rock and Wine on the open date. The way this football season is probably going to go over the next month. You deserve a night out on October the 30th. Brock Rock and Wine at the Renaissance. You can buy tickets at brortho.com. brortho.com. And of course, Hudco Roofing. Hudcoroofing.com. Be patient, y'all. And if you were affected by Ida, just trust reputable contractors and be patient. And you can always call on us, hudcoroofing.com. Burke Harriman, what's up? Kiffin, Fisher, Fickle. Already addressed the Fickle thing. I think he ends up at USC. I think Kiffin and Fisher are both calls that you make. The other one that I've heard is Bill O'Brien. If anyone thinks it's not coaching, look at how the timeouts are burned, especially coming after a kickoff. Yep. Dax Jeter, they played hard. I'm not sure I was totally lost the team. The thing is, Dax, a lot of these guys are playing for NFL scouts, and I would hope that that's never an issue, man. But sometimes the teams do quit on their coach, man. That does happen. Blake Oob, good morning. What's up, Blake Oob? Met Blake Oob last week at Don Juan Cigar Bar. Danny Braywick, is LSU job better than USC? Danny, I would argue so, but that doesn't always matter. Like, sometimes situational fit matters, And, look at what happened last year with Marcus Freeman. And Marcus Freeman just picked Notre Dame. He had Notre Dame and LSU, and he was a Midwestern guy who wanted to stay in the Midwest, so he picked Notre Dame. Is there truth to Corey not wanting the DC spot? Lewis, I'll tell you 100% that is factually inaccurate. Lewis, I want you to be very clear about this. I don't know who said that. I have no idea. I will tell you with 100% certainty and firsthand knowledge that Corey Raymond wanted to be the defensive coordinator, period. Whoever, if anybody told you that, I don't know who said it, I have no idea. Who said it, where you heard it, if that's a message board thing, if that's what, I have no idea. That is 100% factually inaccurate. I don't know if I could be any more clear with this. Corey Raymond wanted to be the defensive coordinator, period. Could I be any clearer at all? Could I be any clearer at all? Give Cade York number 7. Let's see. Brian and Andy Penn, good morning from Peoria, Illinois. All I can say is fire everybody. Thank God we have the Saints. Who dat? Hope Woodward got his guy already. Defense played good, except Steve Nicks getting it's not Stevie Nicks, it's Bo Nicks. Stevie Nicks. Joe Delmonico. I'm old and worn out. I could play as well as these guards for a 3-and-out series, then I'd die. Mark Allen. What game will LSU lose that will get him fired? Can we fast forward to that game? Just got out of church and prayed for clock management. Can we get the Arkansas coaching staff? You know what? If Sam Pittman hired 2 great coordinators, Barry Odom and Kendall Briles, 2 proven coordinators. The interesting thing at Arkansas is going to be what happens when Odom and Briles get scooped away. But what I will tell you is at least Sam Pittman made those hires. Ed Ogeron's coordinators, he inherited from Les Miles. He inherited Dave Aranda. The 2 guys he's hired were Bo Pelini and Durante Jones. Brett Dagger hopes Scone is right about the Saints today. He will be. Will Cuppet, hello Matthew Mike D voice. Can we talk a little Saints for the sake of optimism? I'd love to, Will. I'm just talking here whatever everybody wants to talk about, man. And that's, LSU's lost last night, understandably. Let's see. Following up championship with a sexual assault, cover-up divorce, the worst defensive program history, inability to run 1 yard, time management that makes Les look smart. Ed Ogeron, ladies and gentlemen. Doug DeBallion, we can't keep paying failed assistants because Ed doesn't know what he's doing. How will we be able to use $20 million buyout? Doug, you don't have to worry about that, man. It's not going to be your money. And they have people that'll pay it. Scott knows the phone calls to make, and he started making them a month ago. So, don't worry about it. I mean, they had Ed's buyout lined up after 2017. Now, granted, that was before he won the championship, but don't worry about it. It ain't your money. They'll pay it. Trivia, good morning. Honest question, Matt. How long do we have to wait till Lowe is gone? I don't have that answer, but I think sans an obvious answer of who is the interim and the buyout, where I'll tell you my feeling is that they are going to pop him for cause. And I would not be surprised if in the next month you see more Title IX and or NCAA stories leaked. Tanner Anderson, smoking the morning cigar after that night. Can't blame the defense when they get back-to-back stops late and the offense stalls. Not back-to-back, back-to-back-to-back. Auburn scored to make it 19-17. LSU forced a 3-and-out. I'm sorry, you're right, it was back-to-back. 3-and-out, and then had the drive, the touchdown drive. LSU had 3 possessions and couldn't run the ball. LSU went 3-and-out, got the ball back, ran 6 plays and punted. Got the ball back again, went 3-and-out. They were going to go for it on 4th and 2, and that's where they had the snap infraction, punted, gave the ball to Auburn, and they went and won the game. 3 possessions, you couldn't run the clock. 3 possessions, all passes. 3 possessions with a 2-point lead, you didn't run the ball 1 time. Fire everybody right now. Kenneth Morton Mac from Chicken Neck, South Carolina. Kenneth, you make up a different place every day, man. It's pretty funny, though. Adrian Bailey, horrible coaching performance. Feel sorry for the kids. Bruce Shales, who do you think the new coach would keep on the staff? Corey Raymond would be the obvious one. Any coach would be foolish not to keep Corey. And then I do think Brad Davis would be the offensive line coach. from Baton Rouge, noted recruiter, really good technician under Sam Pittman. I mean, you look at Georgia's offensive line that was coached by Sam Pittman. Look at Arkansas's offensive line coached by, I mean, I think Brad Davis could, you're betting on the come there, could be really good. Only person having a worse morning is Herbs. At least Miles could pull together staff. Kirk, I've always said that, man. Les could identify coaching talent and was unafraid of hiring them. Les's problem was his inability and unwillingness to delegate to his offensive staff. That was his undoing. But Les could identify great coaches. Hell, Les hired Ed. Les was not afraid to hire a guy that could even be his replacement. He just wouldn't delegate offensively. Jonathan Martin, fourth quarter when Max hits Brian Thomas inside the 5. That gets negated because of holding on your fifth-year senior right tackle. Have to settle for another field goal. That was not in the fourth quarter. That was the last possession of the third quarter. And then after the holding is when on 2nd and 18 they ran Josh Williams. And then on 3rd and 16 was the sack fumble where Deculus got beat and gave up the sack fumble. That Deculus himself recovered, and then they made the 51-yard. But yeah, plenty of those plays, man. Charles Turner jumping off sides, false start on a 4th and 1. So you settle for a field goal from inside the 10-yard line. Yeah, you're at the 2 or you're at the 3, whatever it was. You're going forward on 4th and 1. Let's see, E-Dub says Kendall Brow's an option. I don't think so, man. I think Scott Woodward is going to hire a proven Power 5 head coach. Just look at his MO. I mean, from hiring Chris Peterson at Washington to hiring Jimbo, Buzz Williams, Kim Mulkey, Jay Johnson. Look at his hires, man. He hires proven major college coaches. When you have the resources to do that, you do that. There's no reason to take a risk. I hope Matt goes Clark Griswold after the Saints game. Hope they win, little dude. Let's see. So someone said they get Ed for cause. How do they keep from getting hammered by the NCAA? So after the UCLA loss, not only did I hear from boosters about his buyout, I got sent a copy of Ed Ogeron's contract. And the termination for cause section in Ed Ogeron's contract is about as thick as this book. Basically, they could fire him for cause for having his shirt untucked. Not literally, but I think what you do is you would terminate him for cause, and then just negotiate a smaller buyout with him instead of fighting a legal battle, because he'd sue for the full amount, and you just would negotiate a smaller buyout. I think is what you do. Matt, you think they should give Panamsky a shot on the O-line? I heard he's good at blocking. He deserves that. Chris Fontenot did fix the quarterback problem at LSU. I love the guy. We have to make a change. Did you? But at what cost? Here's my point. In fixing the quarterback problem, yes, you have a more dynamic passing offense, no doubt. But you literally cannot run the ball. You're the worst team in the country at running the football. So, did you just swap one problem for another? Thomas Bryan, why isn't Connor our primary back? Because Ed Ogeron's your head coach and he hired an offensive coordinator that's never been a coordinator before and doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, isn't it amazing when you look at this game and LSU ran 24 times for 29 yards, yet Corey Kiner ran 5 times for 22 for an average of 4.4 and a long of 11. So it wasn't like he ripped off one long run. He consistently got positive yards. Alan Hurd, morning, Matt. More disappointing, send 3 bills on Bama ticks. What's more to send 3 bills on Bama ticks? You still want Jimbo overreaction Sunday? I'm sorry, man. I don't know what that. I don't understand what you were asking there. Earl, will the Saints cover the spread today? I think they do, Earl. I think the Saints win by 10. Mark Tatum, the O-line coach, was supposed to be reputable. It's our talent in the O-line, just bad. I think part of it, Mark, is that it's you're not talented there. I think another part is when you have a new coach come in June, and all these guys have had one voice coaching them their entire career. Now you have a different coach with a different style and maybe different techniques or schemes. Sometimes you have some adjustment there. David Jenkins, Luke Fickell. I wouldn't be opposed to Luke Fickell, David. I just think Luke Fickell's going to end up at USC. Kyle Milliken, was Corey Raymond originally hired by Saban? No, Corey was hired by Les. Ed can identify talent, just a different kind of talent. Stephen Dunn, what about Kevin Falk? I honestly think when you look at the running game, I don't know how you justify keeping a running back. And with respect to Kevin, I understand he's going through a personal tragedy right now. That notwithstanding, if you're just asking me from a football standpoint, I mean, I don't know how you justify keeping anyone associated with the running game. They're literally the worst in the country. Jonathan Burris, hope we keep Andre Carter. I mean, maybe, but because you're stat padded against McNeese, I mean, are we really bullish on that group? Dax Jeter, the airmail ball to Besh after he snuck open needs to be mentioned. You're right. That was I think we all kind of had that feeling. It was a 3rd and 2. So LSU was leading 19-17. They forced a 3-and-out from Auburn. This was LSU's possession right before they gave the ball to Auburn, which was the game-winning drive. They went back-to-back plays to Brian Thomas, and they had a 3rd and 2. And Max had Besh down the left sideline, and he just overthrew him. He had him. Overthrew him. They lined up to go for it on 4th and 2, and that's where they had the snap infraction on Shanahan. And so they ultimately punted, and then the rest is history. Bo Nix led the game-winning drive. But you're right. I mean, that was an errant throw. The flip side of it, Dax, is on the on the first drive of the second half, you had 3rd and goal, and I thought Max threw a beautiful ball to Deion Smith that he dropped, and you end up settling for a 22-yard field goal. I mean, there, the deep ball to Kayshon Boutte. I mean, after you're down, you've got 3rd and 6. They throw the deep ball to Boutte down the right sideline, and it looked like he caught it, and that was going to put you, in position. And your best player bobbled the ball. So you had 4th and 6, and you throw the pick. I mean, Boutte catches that ball. You got 1:20 left. You're deep in their territory. You got plenty of time to go win the game. But he didn't. Let's see. Scott Chauvin, when we hear of Ed Fire this morning, embarrassing, lost to a team we should beat by 20. I don't know if you should have beat them by 20, but you should have won the game. Jonathan Burris, Chris Peterson is available. He has a relationship with Woodward. I like Peterson. I don't know if Peterson's done coaching, It's interesting to see. You could certainly make that phone call, and I'd be good with making that phone call. I just don't know if Chris Peterson's done coaching. There's also something to be said for a guy who spent his career in Boise and Seattle. Are you ready for the SEC? I mean, you can be a great coach, but it is just different here. I mean, it's just the intensity, the level of give a damn from the fans, the pressure that goes along with being a coach in the SEC at a place like LSU. It's very real, man. It's very real. Stephen Beach, we appreciate your honesty, done with the Sunshine Pumpers. Stephen, the reality is, man, even people who hate me, they don't know me, and I don't care, but they all still listen because, like, deep down, and if you have kids watch, well, I'm not going to curse, you just know I'm never going to BS you. Like, that's the thing, man. It's like every day when I do my show, if it's here, if it's a podcast, if it's AFR, every day when I'm done working, I can go to sleep and know that I didn't BS anybody that day. That's all. And if the day comes when I no longer have an audience that cares to hear what I have to say, I'll go do something else. Okay.
And that's why you're best.
What?
Because you don't do any of that. Because you don't BS people and you're real. Even if they don't like you. That's why you're the best.
Good morning, Peanut Gallery.
Oh, thanks, babe. That was so sweet and supportive.
I don't need a pep talk, Eric.
I'm not giving you a pep talk.
I need a
making
nap.
a comment.
I need a nap. There's a nap in my future today. After the Saints play, maybe before the Saints play, I might give me a little nap. Ken Bro, good morning. Do you need something?
No, it's just contributing.
Thomas Bryan, good morning. BJ Bollinger, Auburn has better defense, better running back. Auburn has more athletic quarterback. Wide receiver was LSU's only advantage. BJ, I disagree on basically all of that. I think LSU's secondary is better than Auburn's. I think defensive line is probably a push. LSU's offensive line is brutal, and Auburn's isn't great. But Bo Nix's ability to improvise is what kept Auburn in the game, for sure. But what's interesting is was looking at there was a game, like a statistical comp for the game. And like all the major categories, and Jeremy Hill and I talked about this in pregame. Charlie said, "Was Auburn doing not running the ball?" I have no idea. Like, I was sitting there watching the game, talking to T-Bob. I'm like, I cannot believe they're not feeding Hunter. Like, Hunter is that kid, Jarquez Hunter. Like, I've watched Auburn play this year, man. Like, Jarquez Hunter's gonna be a problem for the SEC for the next few years. Like, that kid is dynamic. I cannot believe he had 6 carries for 65 yards. I cannot believe he only had 6 carries in that game. I can't believe they let Bo Nix throw it 44 times. Whatever. Um, like Auburn's game plan was awful as well. I mean, Jesus. That. Whew. Anyway. Uh, but we talked about this with Jeremy Hill in pregame. The big statistical outliers that LSU is number 1 in the country in red zone offense, and Auburn's red zone efficiency defense was like 98th. Like, the fact that LSU had to kick a 33-yard field goal, a 26-yard field goal. You got into the red zone, then had the holding and the fumble, which made it a 51-yard field goal. You know, like, one of LSU's distinct statistical advantages in the game, it didn't play out that way. Kieran Harris, with our talent, we need a head coach who can make decisions on his own without a binder. Kyle Milliken, Tank Bigsby's a beast, did nothing last night. I was surprised by that. Figured he'd gone for 200. It's because they didn't run the ball. Like, Auburn ran the ball. I thought this would be inverted. They ran it 29 times and threw it 48 times. I thought that would be flipped. And had it been flipped, it might not have been as dramatic as it was. Thomas Bryan, can we stop thinking Jimbo's elite? Stop. What has he done with Jameis? Nothing. Thomas, that's one of the stupidest, laziest takes I hear people say all the time. Jimbo Fisher turned Christian Ponder and E.J. Manuel into first-round draft picks. He won an Orange Bowl with Kellen Mond. Like, I get it if you don't like him and you don't like A&M, but, like, that's fine. It's just a stupid, lazy take from people to deny the fact that that guy as an offensive coach is really good. And as a recruiter is really good. Whatever. Bob Poole. Now, I'm not saying that they should hire him or will hire him. It's just such a lazy take by people. Anyway. Brian Fletcher, you about to lose your job? Lose has 1 O, by the way. Lose has 2 O's. That's part of the problem. What that means. Jerry, morning Matt. As long as O coaches LSU, I'll be going through a lot of whiskey quicker than I'd like. Well, it's allocation season. That's the good news. Jared Scott, with all the freak shows at receiver, the running lanes should be wide open. Y'all realize that LSU last night in the fourth quarter was throwing the ball against a 2-man rush? Auburn, for one series in the fourth quarter, rushed 2 and dropped 9, and LSU threw it 3 straight plays. Hey, Dawn, good morning. Peter Adams. Jeremy Fontana, I can barely hear you. That's because I'm just talking low, Jeremy. I'm tired. Sorry, I'll talk a little louder. Dax Jeter, unpopular take. Max Johnson wasn't the reason we lost this game, but he isn't very good. Here's the thing, Dax. Max is not the reason LSU lost the game. To say he isn't very good is a little bit needs a qualifier. I think what a lot of people forget is that Max Johnson is still just a sophomore and made just his 7th career start. He's going to continue getting better. But the expectation that a lot of people had was that he would be a championship caliber quarterback today, which I don't think is realistic. I also don't think Max Johnson will be an NFL starting quarterback. I don't think he has the arm strength. He just isn't a dynamic arm talent. But he's a good leader. He has respect of his team. I think he makes good decisions with the ball. He's a good athlete. I think he could be a really, really good college quarterback. But he's so young. That's kind of the thing people forget, Dax. Like, perspective matters, man. Let's see. Did I hear the Hudco jingle as E-Rock enters the room? Dax, how was the hair fairy yesterday? Big day with the cut and color. Expensive. End product. Dustin Landry, IV before a nap. Maybe so. Frustrating that problems with coaching can't be fixed suddenly. Players can be subbed, but stuck with the coaches. Nix was the difference with those scrambling plays. Let Erica know I wish we would have had a landline after the storm. No cell service was one of the worst parts. We couldn't communicate for a week in the bike. You might have lost your landline too. You didn't have power. Like, we didn't have a landline after the storm. Brent Ploche, how do you motivate the kids after this? Top teams are ripping heads off. Hope we stay healthy. Damian Ramirez, LSU missed out on Georgia's center when he was right here in the state. Yeah, but I don't think. Oh hell, from Easton. What's his name? Cedric Van Pran. I don't think Cedric Van Pran is starting at Georgia. Douglas Hurstow, congrats on her Cincinnati pick. The common guy, good morning. Need to fire Odin now. A lot of people are saying that. Go Black 45, Matt. Who's your number one choice for the job? I would hire Lane Kiffin. I think he's the best offensive coach in football. I think he would hire a great defensive coordinator and delegate. And I think if you gave him LSU's toy box, it would look a lot like what Alabama's championship offenses looked like when Lane was in Tuscaloosa. I would hire Kiffin. Morning, Matt. Hey, Jeb. I know everyone has asked this. Who's your top three to replace O? Chris McDonald, what's up with the empty seats in the second half? It's the new Tiger Stadium, man. Any money saved waiting to end of the season to let O go as opposed to now? No, Jordan Malazzo. No, Jordan. I need to look at the contract, but if I'm not mistaken, the date is something like for the year of his contract, something like I want to say it's like in March. So like you're not going to wait till March to make a hire, right? So no, you wouldn't see that number drop. It would be 17 million for Ed and about 20 for the entire staff. So I do think that they would go to him and fire him for cause, but maybe not play this out publicly, but if they fired him for cause and then just negotiated a smaller buyout, I think that's what they would do. Little dude, who's the next big name to sign with Gamecoin? There's some big stuff in the queue, man. It's very exciting. That is one giant bright spot of this weekend is Gamecoin pumped, which is very welcomed. Y'all check it out. Make your own decisions, but check it out. Let's see. On the bright side, if we keep the wide receiver group together, they can be all-time great. You get a lot of talent there, man. Will the most difficult recruiting job be keeping this roster together? I think it's part of it, Juan. I think a lot of guys would have left last year. Well, let me rephrase. I don't think. I know there were a lot of guys that would have jumped ship last year before the wins over Florida and Ole Miss. All the guys that made the decision this year to return, in large part, those decisions were made after the Florida and Ole Miss wins because there was this feeling like, you see, we are still LSU. We can pull this together and make it right. Zachary June to Matt, I don't know know, think Woodward fires O mid-season, but if they do, who would be the interim? That's been the big question, Zachary, and there isn't a great answer. A lot of people have said Corey Raymond, and that's sad. That makes a lot of sense, but Corey hasn't been that. But then again, I mean, it's an unenviable position. I don't know what you would do, but I tell you this: the players would play hard for Corey. I know that much. How badly did Walker Howard get hurt Friday? I don't know, Zachary. We asked Shea Dixon that yesterday on pregame. Said it's probably a season-ending deal for Walker, which really stinks, man. How far are we from becoming Florida State? Good question, Drew. But the big difference is Florida State, number one, is one of 3 Power 5 programs in its own state. It plays in the ACC, and it doesn't have great resources. I know that sounds odd, but one of the reasons Jimbo left Florida State for A&M, when a lot of people said he would never leave, and I kept telling y'all every year that was legitimate, was because he used to have to go fight for assistant pay. His assistants got poached every year because their admins wouldn't pay. And then he had to fight and claw for facility upgrades. And I think they finally built, a new football complex there. But, Florida State was fighting an uphill battle in its own state with Miami and Florida there as well. And then you're in the ACC, which isn't the SEC. And then there's facilities, right? I mean, LSU doesn't have a lot of those issues. LSU is the only Power 5 in the state. They're in the SEC. You've got better facilities, better resources. It's just different. Can't wait for Monday's rant. Should have called whiskey and wine last night. Let's see. The Advocate reported Walker's injury is a fractured tibia. That sucks. Let's see. Kirk Taylor, I'm in the minority. Freeze needs another bite at the apple. Kirk, I would be perfectly fine with you, Freeze. I think the problem LSU would have is, amid their Title IX issues, hiring a guy who was fired at his last place for sexual improprieties. Just candidly. I mean, from a football standpoint, I completely agree. I also tend to believe that, Hugh Freeze is a guy that made mistakes in his personal life, has owned them, and is going to be a better person because of it. And that's fantastic. I don't know. I just don't know that LSU's going to walk down that road. Chris Elaine, out of curiosity, does Miles Brennan ever see the field again? Great question, Chris. And I don't know. I mean, I think they're expecting Miles to be back for the Bama game. And, how much would Miles make a difference? By that point, give me 3 more game sample size here of Max Johnson to see how it's looking. And, if Miles is the better option at the time, maybe. But then, injuries happen. Not that you'd ever wish that on anybody, but it certainly seems like Miles isn't interested in leaving. Steven, whiskey and wine was spicy last night. Charles Fair, Matt, what do you think about Bob Stoops? I'd be fine with Bob Stoops. If Bob Stoops wants to come out of retirement and coach LSU, bring him on. That's the kind of hire that I think Scott Woodward would make. Thank you, Matt. This has been cathartic. I hope it has been for you as well. Christopher Davis, A&M has an interesting strategy last night. Play a lot of man against Leach when everyone else's rush 3 dropped 8 didn't work well for them. Charlie Broussard, morning Matt, game really sucked. Wish I hadn't gone. Black goatee, Hugh Freeze would be a home run hire. I would agree. Let's see. Maybe get a couple more here on Facebook. By the way, on YouTube, 205 watching. Thank y'all for watching, man. Please smash the like button if you haven't done it yet. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the Matt Scone YouTube channel. Appreciate y'all very much there. Just 91 likes, 209 watching. We can get that number higher. If you're watching on mobile, just X out of the live chat, hit the thumbs up, and then come right back. So thank you all for that. Appreciate it greatly. I know we can get that number higher. on Facebook, still 183 watching on Facebook. Please like the page and share the post. We appreciate you for being there. Kyle Milliken, what do you think about pregame interview with Lane throwing the headset? Look, so y'all know, I mean, I picked Ole Miss to win that game. And I'm okay with measured aggression. Lane was careless yesterday. Sometimes I say with Sean Payton, he calls plays like a pissed off teenager. Lane was like that yesterday. I'm okay on the first possession going for it at the Alabama 2. You're trying to get 7 instead of 3. But the next 2 possessions where he went for it from his own 47 and his own 25, nah. Those amount to turnovers. I mean, you can't. It was a 14-0. It was a 2-score game in the second quarter. And midway in the second quarter. And you go for it at your own 25-yard line. Nah, man. You give them the short field, you blink, it's 21-0, and it's over. I mean, but Lane wanted it, man, and he had the right group to get it done. But you know, anyway. So Cameron Woolley, Morning Scone is kind of like a family type show. So I don't care if you don't like me, man, but just don't curse on here, please. I don't ever like ban anybody. Okay, yeah, you're banned. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Jerry Derigo, good morning. I said to block someone on Facebook for the first time in forever. Jerry DeLucky, when I was fired, what coach or coaches besides Corey would you like to see retained? Just Corey. Maybe the offensive line coach, Brad Davis. Charlie Cavell, no more Ole Miss retrans. Jeremy Thibodeau, good morning, Scone. Still upset we settled. Got out of rhythm, settled for kicks, and got out coached. You should be. Robert Scott, what about Derek Dooley? Tyler Coleman, Urban Meyer, Kiffin Freeze. O's got to go. I think O is going to go. It's just a matter of time now. I mean, shoot, I said that after UCLA. Said they were done winning with Ogeron after UCLA. And you know, ultimately, the premise behind that take was the fact that I knew if they went 7-5 this year, he was going to be fired. And after they lost to UCLA, it seemed like pretty much a given. Jerry, don't understand how this team can't run the ball. Pathetic. I agree. Listen, man, it doesn't mean you have to be a top 10 rushing offense in the country, but I need to check let me see if they've updated the stats. Let's see if they've updated rushing offense. Okay, here we go, rushing offense. Okay, they have updated. So LSU is not dead last in the country. Out of 130 teams, Bowling Green is dead last. Mississippi State is 129th. And LSU is 128th in the country in rushing offense. Stunning. It's absolutely stunning that LSU is that bad at running the football. only Bowling Green and Mississippi State are worse than LSU running the football. Tyler Coleman, Bama will beat us by 60. Yeah, Bama can name their score. I think LSU, play well. Will give great effort defensively for half. They'll get worn out, and LSU won't score. Alec Campo at least have some good bourbon next week in Lexington. The game may be a disaster. That's true. I'll be interested in the game though. Like, which LSU shows up? Like, do they show up super motivated? And they may pick themselves up and play really tough. And you may also have a Kentucky team that has an emotional letdown after a big emotional win last night. So, it'll be interesting to watch next week to see what LSU team shows up. Drew Boogie, disgraceful. Play calling duties to DJ, sat in the booth in 2019. Can go no wrong than what we are witnessing. LSU fans shouldn't stop till is gone. Fans don't have to do anything. Scott Woodward's already... Believe me, there's nobody more disgusted than Scott Woodward. Not only at the performance on the field, but the head coach taking pictures in bed with half naked with women and shirtless at the beach and walking around LA with all the stuff. All the stuff that's embarrassing. Like, there's nobody that hates that more than Scott Woodward. Scott wants his coach to be the forward-facing, sort of face of the athletic department, and Ed's off-the-field stuff is an embarrassment. You throw the Title IX stuff on top of it, and now these back-to-back seasons. He's done. Dave Ender, 0 sacks was a big deal. Yeah, but a big part of that, I think you credit Bo Nix. LSU got pressure. They got 6 pressures in the game. Coach O will fool us again. Won't be surprised if we beat Kentucky, lose to Kentucky and Florida. Beat Kentucky and lose to Florida Ole Miss. I think there's a possibility that happens. But A&M fans are wishing Scott Wood wouldn't have given Jimbo $75 million to win nothing. I just disagree with that, Keith. They just gave him an extension. They won an orange. They won an Orange Bowl last year and gave him an extension. And this A&M team, it's just I've been curious to see what they would have been with Haynes King, because Zach Calzada's he's just not an SEC quarterback. That poor kid. If you've watched him, he's just not any good, man. Let's see. Dylan Willsey, Matt, if LSU decides to get rid of O and the majority of the staff, what kind of effect would that have on the team? New coaches energize the team, or do we see a rebuild period over a few years? Dylan, I'll say this again, man. This current sophomore class that will be juniors next year will have great potential next season if they keep them together, So whoever is the coach next year is going to inherit a really good, a really talented group of upperclassmen. And you have some really talented freshmen right now that are playing well. Deion Smith and Jack Besh and Mason Smith. You got some guys out there that are really contributing. So let's see. Keaton says Jimbo gets a pass for losing a quarterback to be 3-2 on the way to 3-3. I'm not saying get a pass, man, but he's got a long enough resume of success to where you can look at something and determine when something's an outlier, if that makes sense. Let's see, Fred, we're going to go down the road of USC, Texas, Miami, Nebraska. Drew, I'll tell you why I would disagree. And I'll give you two examples. All the programs you mentioned have built-in disadvantages that LSU doesn't have. What I mean is USC's on the West Coast, they play in the Pac-12, and you're in a town, while it's a giant market, you're in a town that doesn't really care about college football. Texas has a ton of resources, but there's also Texas, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Baylor, TCU. You have 5 Power 5 programs in the state. And you get poached by Oklahoma, Arkansas, LSU. You know what I mean? Like, so you're not the only game in town. LSU in Louisiana is the only game in town. That's number one. And the other thing, too, I'll tell you, Drew, is I just trust Scott Woodward. I trust Scott Woodward's going to make the right hire. He has a long enough track record of making great hires that I think he'll do it again. Let's see, South LA, from the area Mason Smith grew up, really impressed, wish him the best. Agree. I think Mason Smith's going to be fantastic. I think he's going to be a special player at LSU, and I think he'll be a high draft pick and hopefully stays healthy and has a long NFL career. He could play inside out. He's big, and when you're that athletic at that size, I mean, I absolutely agree with you. Is Stingley going to play again? I would bet no. I don't know anything. Firsthand, I've heard some info secondhand, but I would bet probably not. Hope I'm wrong. I'd love to see him play again. Let's see, he's won one natty with a generational quarterback. Who'll be the starting quarterback for the Saints today? He hasn't won the West and is definitely starting at 7-5. Staring 7-5 days. Oh, you're talking about Jimbo. So there's a lot of great coaches that didn't win any natties. And then you have a coach like Ed Ogeron who won a natty, who's a terrible coach. Larry Coker won a national championship, and he was a disaster. Gene Chizik won a natty. You know what I mean? So, like, that, I don't think that can be the only standard by which you judge. I don't understand the why LSU fans have this obsession with Jimbo and A&M. I'm not being I'm not trying to be insulting, or like, I'm really not. But I was talking about this with T-Bob last night, because T-Bob and Hunt Palmer, like a lot of people I know, they loathe A&M, they revel in their failure. And I'm not saying like you need to celebrate their success or I just don't care about A&M. Like, A&M loses a game, it doesn't affect me any more than Mississippi State or Ole Miss or Arkansas losing a game. I mean, I just don't care. I just don't care about it. I guess because A&M is never, to Keaton's point, A&M's never won anything. Like, A&M's never won anything or cost LSU anything or threatened LSU. You know what I mean? Like, so I just don't care about A&M. Anyway, I just don't care. Coach Smith, you don't want to understand it. I don't know what that means. Let's see, because that's who Woodward hired at A&M for $75 million. He hired a coach that won a national championship and put 3 quarterbacks in the first round. I mean, he won an Orange Bowl last year. I mean, it's not a terrible hire considering what A&M was under Kevin Sumlin. And anyway, let's see. Mark Tatum, why not give Lincoln Riley a call? I think if Lincoln Riley leaves Oklahoma, it's going to be for the NFL. Any chance to get rid of O before the end of the season? Sure, there's a chance. Let's see. Damon Jackson, what's the percent chance O returns next season? 1.6%. Just to not speak in absolutes. I mean, I think there's a better chance. There is a better statistical chance that Ed Ogeron is fired before the season is over than there is of him actually returning next year. Tyler Coleman, how much would O's Bob be? His buyout is 17 million. I've said this several times today, but his buyout is would be 17 million, and the total staff would be about 20. But I do believe that they would fire him for cause and negotiate a lesser buyout. We may never publicly hear that it's for cause, but I think that's what they would do. Okay, y'all. Joe Delmonico, heyday name from the 80s. Yeah, I mean, I know they used to have that rivalry. I was a kid when that ended. Jared DiNardo's first game at LSU was 1995 when they lost to Texas A&M. Played a tough game, but lost the game. I mean, so I'm with you. I mean, I understand. But anything pre-Saban, Joe, it just doesn't really matter in the context of this conversation. You know, like LSU's won 3 national championships since '03. I just don't care that A&M beat LSU back in '89. You know, I just don't care. Okay, congrats. They haven't won a natty since '35, whatever it is, you know. Okay, y'all. I think we're just about done. Hour and 37 minutes. Appreciate y'all for hanging out. If you're on YouTube, 136 likes. Thank y'all so much. If you're watching, you haven't done so yet, please smash that like button. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Matt Moscone YouTube channel. We appreciate that. On Facebook, please like the page, share the post, like the page, share the post, like the page, share the post. Okay. Y'all have a good day. And who dat? And maybe we'll give you a post game Saints rant. So if you're on Facebook and you're not subscribed to the Matt Moscone YouTube channel, you should do that because Scone. If the Saints win, you may just have another appearance from Scone Stradamus. If you're not familiar, go to my YouTube channel and scroll and you'll see. All right, y'all have a great day. See ya.